the soulprint. It's the guide or the blueprint of your soul. It's a concept that I came up with after a lot of contemplation, a lot of introspection, and the concept itself is not perfect right now, but it's something that I need to put out there so that people can begin to have a map or a guide for them to be able to connect the dots between their lived experience and their future or potential self, basically where they're at right now and where they want to be. The soul print came about through my understanding of the soul. I have had direct contact with my own soul over 5, 6 years studying psychology, meditating, having just a lot of experiences, whether they be through psychedelics, religious experiences, etc. And I feel like me creating this guide will help people get a clear idea of what it means to be connected to their soul. One of the most important factors here to the soul print is the idea of the soul. And it's something that is not very easy to define. A lot of people, philosophers, psychologists still struggle with trying to define what the soul is, but that's just the struggle that comes with trying to put something that is very immaterial. The soul is transcendent. And so trying to bring that transcendent aspect into a material world is going to be very difficult. And that's just the struggle of humanity right now. That's where we are. But I hope that through the years and with this YouTube channel that I have, I'll be able to distill all of my experiences and ideas to create a much clearer picture of what the soul is. And I will do my best that I can in this video also. So the way I see the soul is as your true essence. It is the vessel or the mediator between your personality self and your higher self or spirit. These terms are more so guides or expressions of something much deeper, something that you will have to intuit. You have to really practice using your intuition when I'm discussing these concepts, because if you're not able to use your intuition and you try to listen to what I'm saying through just your logical mind, it will be very hard to grasp and you will just click off the video. Just going back to the question, what is the soul? I like to describe it as the mediator between the personality and spirit. The soul has a lot of information within it. It has information of your past lives, and it can be analogous to the idea of the higher self. Sometimes people can use that term. And in terms of Jungian psychology, Carl Jung often mentioned the soul, but he also didn't create a clear definition of what the soul is. He really just pointed in the direction of it. What I have understood that when it comes to Jungian psychology, I've been able to access archetypes, personalities, tendencies. All these things lie within my soul in the sense that I can access information about my tendencies or my destiny or my desires through introspection or self-reflection. And a real world experience for me has been the ability to hear my soul itself speak. It's this feeling of a voice speaking to you, which is very soft, but it is very calm also, getting revelations and pointing me to a direction that I must go. And as I follow these signs, I feel even more and more closer to authenticity and to my purpose. That's kind of like an overall understanding of the soul. And I'm gonna go a lot deeper into these concepts so that you can have an outline of exactly what it will look like for you to gain access to your soul or the blueprint of your soul, aka your soul print. So the reason I call this the blueprint of the soul is because there is a blueprint within you that tells you so much information about yourself and how you are unique and who you are meant to become. I outlined this blueprint to work in two different ways. The first way is as a compass, and the second way is as a map. The soul print is both a compass and a map. And this is kind of might be very complex. It might sound complex, but the reason this works out is because through my studies of dreams and also through self-reflection, I've understood that we do not have words or vocabulary to describe the experience of the soul. We don't have that ability because the soul lies outside of the 3D. It is a fourth dimensional or even fifth dimensional manifestation. And so we can only experience it through its effects. So the way I see it, for example, I can study the soul by studying my dreams, or I can study the soul by studying my desires. I can also study the soul through self-reflection by the insights that I gain and questions that often come up inside of me. All of these things are ways of measuring or coming into contact with the soul. And so that kind of explains why the soul as a blueprint will not just be a simple map. It's going to be much deeper than a 3D paper. It's going to be a multidimensional mechanism. Speaking of a compass and a map, these things interact between each other. And so to see the soul as just one of these will really just cut yourself off from so many different things. And this is kind of the problem with a lot of the spiritual teachings, which is sometimes teachers will teach you of the soul as a compass and will show you it as a light that you need to follow, but they leave out all of these important psychological aspects that come with the soul that need to be understood for a much more comprehensive understanding. Also, on the other side is the psychological perspective, which is mapping out the structures within the soul. So that can be the archetypes, it can be the life lessons, it can be your personality, your tendencies. These are kind of the structures that we can find within the soul. But if we only point towards these, we leave out the mystical aspects of the soul. And these mystical aspects, whether we hate to admit it or not, are very important to our experience, as they're where we get direct contact from the soul. This is where we get to interact with it at a one-to-one level. And without doing so, we are left to just guess our way into the direction we are meant to go. The structures are great. They're great for self-understanding, but without that guide, without that mystical experience of one-to-one connection with the soul, you'll never really have a true feeling of what it means to be yourself. So it is important to balance both of these perspectives, and it is important to not try to reduce the soul to one dimension, because if we do, then we lie within the problem of science today, which is we become too reductionist. We try to box things into what we think is reality versus open ourselves up to how reality might be. And so we proceed to the first aspect of the soul as a map. So the soul as a map means that it is not a fixed map. In fact, it is very unknown. If you were to look at a video game, and sometimes there's different areas that are left to explore and it's shaded and dark, and you have to really go into there to actually be able to map it out. That's exactly how it is with your soul. You're going to walk into this world and you're not going to know exactly what lies within all the realms, because your soul it encompasses a large array of experiences and places that many people have not even traveled to just get a quick understanding. When you experience a psychedelic trip, you can go anywhere, and on every single psychedelic trip can be different. So can your dreams be different? um, I can make the comparison between your inner world being just as vast as the outer world, where space is left to be explored, and so is our inner space. Another thing is that because it is unexplored, it also is very malleable. It's not fixed. The inner landscape is it's an ever-changing world. It is not a fixed thing. If you try to see your soul as something that is fixed, then that is very contrary to spiritual understanding, because everything is always changing, everything is always in flux, and we are constantly evolving. So as we evolve, so does our map. And that's a lesson that needs to be understood, because if you cannot let go of this notion of malleability, if you cannot enter into that or step into that, then you will have a lot of trouble trying to understand yourself. That's just what comes with being a human being. So it is a blend of destiny and of free will, and that is essential. So what I described is that the aspect of destiny is that we still have areas to explore, and they are hidden. But as we go through life, we can find them, and they were set there before we even arrived. But also free will, because we are evolving, and as we evolve, the map itself changes and reflects our experiences and understanding. So that within itself is a little complicated, but I will do my best to try to explain this, okay? The first aspect of the map is understanding life sequences. We have to understand that life is a game of lessons, or there are levels to life, there are levels to our experience. As we grow and evolve, our evolution is very much determined by life lessons. How much you understand about yourself and how much you have learned from your experiences is going to be the highlight of how evolved you are. There are certain life lessons that are put into your soul, or that your soul is pushing for you to understand, before you even come into this planet, before you're even born. We choose the life lessons that we need to learn so that our soul can evolve and reach the next step. And we make sure to put ourselves in the situation where we are just going to be challenged to acquire those life lessons. And once we acquire those life lessons, we move on to the next lesson, and we just keep moving up the rung and until you get to a place where there are no more life lessons to be learned, and you start co-creating with life. At least this is my theory. Whether it's a spiritual truth or not, it will be up to you and to your own discretion. But I believe that there is a certain sequencing that we put on ourselves, that by the certain age of, like, for example, 25, I need to have learned these lessons. And if not, if we don't learn those lessons, then something will happen to force us to learn those lessons. And I have seen this through my study of astrology. There are certain themes or lessons that need to be learned by a specific period in our lives. And if we do not learn them, then they will keep manifesting themselves until we do, or else we face death. That is an important aspect to understand, that life lessons are a part of the map. So if you can come inside to your soul, you get a clear understanding of what life lessons you need to learn. So if you're in a place where you're conflicted, you go reflect and see what's going on, and then you can tie it to a life lesson that you might be undergoing right now. And so accessing your soul just speeds up the process a lot more. And something I've understood is that another way that this can be seen is through initiations. We lack initiations, and there will be a video on this in the future. But as a culture, we do not understand the power of initiation. There are certain initiations that are needed for men and women for them to evolve psychologically in the way that they're supposed to. This is the reason why there are so many immature men and women walking around in the population. And so initiation is an important aspect of the soul. And if we do not get these initiations during the times that we need them, for example, during adolescence, if we don't get that initiation of boy to man, then there will be a lot of issues with facing reality as a man. But all you need to take away from this specific area is that the sequencing is important, and initiations are a part of that sequencing. And within that sequencing, within those initiations, are specific stages or lessons that need to be passed in order for you to evolve. The next aspect of the soul as a map is through archetypes. So archetypes are the primordial instincts or images or energies that exist within us and influence our behaviors throughout our lives. I will make another video more focused on archetypes, but what is important for you to understand is that you need to get to know the archetypes that affect you or that affect humanity. Archetypes are seen everywhere in human culture through stories and mythology. And Joseph Campbell did a great job in explaining the hero's myth, for example, which is an archetype within itself, where we enter this place of transformation. We hear the call to action, we go onto the journey, we accept the challenge, and then we experience the transformation and come out of it much wiser and also powerful. And this is something that is shown throughout many movies, specifically hero movies. A lot of our lives are dictated by this archetype. And something that I push a lot of the times for men is the understanding of the four archetypes of the masculine: the king, warrior, magician, and lover. These archetypes are essential for just getting to know the psyche of a man, for getting to know the essence of a man, and just for understanding where you are. You know, if we do not understand the archetypes, we will live in victimhood. These archetypes are forever turned on, and they are forever influencing us. And if we do not become conscious of them, then we will become victims of them. This is often seen through the effect of the shadow. Oftentimes we do things that we didn't even know we would do. We become controlled or overtaken by a power that we don't even know of. And this is the work of the shadow. For example, what's the slip of the tongue? That's the Freudian slip, right? Where we say something that we're thinking internally, but didn't mean to say in actuality. Another example of this would be just acting out. Maybe you just get this intense desire to go somewhere, or you get overtaken by this desire to change the way you look. Maybe you want to start hitting the gym more. Maybe you really get into that culture of the warrior, or maybe you desire women more. This is something that the lover could have an influence on, or the magician. Maybe you're just the kind of person that likes to sit alone and study and read and continually just reflect. And that's the magician right there. The problem often happens though is that if we're not aware of these influences, we can take them on as identities and then we just become one dimensional. And that is something that we'll talk about in the future. But the archetypes lie within that map. They are aspects of the psyche that need to be understood. And if we don't understand them, then we will be victims of our own lives. And we will feel like we are not in control of our lives. So that's where we will gain more power. And then the third aspect of the soul as a map is through the understanding of the personality. I understood very quickly that in order for me to become the highest version of myself, I had to understand myself. I had to understand the way I worked, the tendencies that I had, the desires that I had, the things that I would describe as me. If I did not know my personality, then how would I wield it and use it as a weapon for my purpose? That's basically the premise around the power of understanding your personality. Within your soul, you will very quickly see that you have a specific personality that is not similar to anybody else's. It is always great to take personality tests. For example, the Myers Briggs, that one was super helpful for me. Also, the Big Five or Hexaco, those things were things that I truly found to be very helpful in learning to just use my strengths and also finding out my weaknesses. And in learning so, I was able to balance out the aspects that I needed to work on and also use my strengths to my own advantage. And another powerful tool here that I used was numerology and astrology. Through the use of these two different technologies or tools, I was able to gain a deeper understanding of my soul and of my purpose on this earth. And you will see that as we get deeper and deeper into these things, you will just find that it resonates with you. I was able to understand through numerology and astrology where my future lied in, where my purpose was, the reasons also why I moved the way I moved. That's why I had the pains that I had or I suffered the way I did. I just gained a deeper understanding of my motivations and the things that my soul wanted for me. And in doing so, I was able to align myself to my soul a lot faster. So those are the three aspects, which were the sequencing, the archetypes, and the personality. Those three aspects make up the map of the soul. And now I want to get into the compass of the soul, which is something much more akin to intuition. The compass of the soul is the thing that I would hand you. It's the thing that I can give you right now, and I will tell you, you can feel into it right now. The reason I say that is because the clearest thing that a lot of spiritual teachers say is that all you need to do is remove the noise. And I have found this to be completely true. The more I meditated, the easier it was for me to tune into my intuition. And my intuition manifested itself in many different ways. It could be a hunch, it could be a voice, it could be a synchronicity, it could be anything that just points me in the direction of where I'm meant to go. As I slowed down and removed the noise and gained a deeper sense of what it felt to be me, I was able to tune in to a much quicker feedback loop. The more you meditate or the more you hone into your intuition, the greater the contact is between you and your soul. It is easier to communicate to your soul. And the soul serves as a compass in many different ways, but I think the simplest way I could explain it would be through synchronicity. Things just line themselves up. The thing that you were looking for happens to appear in the right moment that you needed it. The person comes into your life right when you needed it. The event happens right where you needed it. Coincidences are happening all around you and they're just unfolding and helping you. And you almost feel like a co creator in this, where you think about it and it happens, or you desire it and it's right there. That's a very good sign that you are very much tuned into the compass of your soul. And there's another aspect which I would like to introduce, which is the emotional guidance system introduced by Abraham Hicks. Abraham Hicks explains very simply in that anything that is positive emotion is in the direction of your soul. So if it's positive, then it is most likely your soul. And if it's negative, then it most likely is taking you away from your soul or your purpose. So this is something that really helped me out, as it is very simple and it is much more tuned into emotions. And if you're that kind of person that would prefer to be more emotional about it, then this is also for you. It has helped me a lot in my own journey. And it would be a shame to not include it into this video. But I would also say that for the people who are more logically driven, intuition will be your best friend. Intuition is something that you have to learn to balance as a person. But there comes a point where you're able to distinguish between your logic and your intuition. And when you can put them both together, then you become powerful. If you can put that as your main focus to balance both logic and intuition, you will get a lot faster to where you need to get to. And one final thing I would like to add about the compass, and I think this will be a good way for you to tell how well you are at using the compass of the soul, will be through the understanding of vision. And I'm talking about capital V, vision. What I experienced when I was going through my journey and coming into contact with my soul was that there was a transformation that went on inside myself. My desires flipped, and I was starting to get a different perspective on the world, where I was surrendering myself to a vision. I was trying to navigate or shape my life in a way that was in alignment to this larger vision. And this vision came to me as time passed and as I got closer and closer to my soul. This vision is characterized as being something that transcends your current lifetime, is based on service, and is connected to your purpose. So it's you need those three things for you to know that you have a vision, a capital V vision. This is what makes you a visionary, and what makes a lot of the thinkers of the past, who have been known as the greats, the greats. You have to have a vision that transcends your lifetime, is about service, and is connected to your purpose, to your soul destiny. If you don't have that yet, then that just means that you still need more time to develop a relationship with yourself, and that vision will come to you as you go about your life. Because the thing that happens when you come into contact with the vision is that your body transforms, your mind transforms. Your body only desires specific foods, it desires different environments, it desires different things. You start seeking more fulfilling things. You care more about how fulfilling things are versus how pleasurable they are. Another change that happens is that you have a change in values. You start seeing and thinking in terms of your future self, in terms of your ideal self. And that causes you to think of service. How can I serve humanity? Once you start asking that question, you're getting a good indicator that you're coming close to your soul, and your soul is now driving your actions. And then the final thing is also connection to your purpose, because you will have a sense that this vision is very much connected to what you're meant to do in this world. For me, I know that my purpose is to solve the problem of unconsciousness, to help people become more aware of themselves, and through that, actualize their potential. And speaking of connection to your soul, I have created an assessment called the Soulprint Assessment that assesses just how connected you are to your soul. By answering 50 questions in about 10 minutes, you will get your results and see exactly where you stand in terms of your connection to your soul. And I gave you my tips on how you can actually get to a closer connection. Or if you're already up there, then I suggest some things you can do right now that will help you enhance your connection and help those around you. So if you're curious about the Soulprint assessment, make sure to click on the link below and get your results right now. And we're back to the video. So in discussing the soul as a compass and map, if you are interested in learning much more further, I would suggest a few things. But the first thing is I have a lot of resources in my website where I write about the things that have helped me and the things that can help you. And I do my best to explain the concepts and the blueprints that I've found already, so that you can get a hold of my map and compass and hopefully integrate it into your own system. And I would also suggest the implementation of any form of self reflection and meditation. It is important that you keep studying and learning more about psychology, specifically Jungian psychology, so you can get a good outline of the generalized understanding of the map of the soul. In doing so, you become more equipped and more powerful as a creator. Know that this is a continuous process and it is a lifelong journey, but the changes can happen right now. The feedback can happen right now, and you are not any farther away from your soul than you are from the screen right in front of you. Soul connection can happen right now. And in fact, that is probably one of the ways that your soul is communicating to you. So make sure to start implementing these things and these concepts so that you can begin to actualize your potential. Anyways, that's it for now, and I will see you on the next one, all right? Stay lucid.